Whenever you're trying to make a good video, it can be hard to make a good video. I normally don't care, but this time I wanted to do a good job, and I started it, and I messed it up. So I started over. And a student of mine showed me a website that had videos that she was learning from, and it was really cool. And it was this guy called Professor Dave, and it was Professor Dave Explains. And I looked at that and I said, I love that. I want to be just like Professor Dave. That's what I want to do. But I need to come up with a good catchphrase, because Professor Dave Explains. I like that. So what could I be? Becca teaches things? That's not very exciting. So y'all can be thinking about that. Alright, so today I'm talking about Latin demonstrative pronouns and their friends, and I'm just calling them and their friends for some things that are declined similarly to the Latin demonstrative pronouns. So demonstrative pronouns from the Latin demonstrare, to point out. So demonstrative pronouns or adjectives, these can function as pronouns or adjectives. The main ones are hic, haec, hoc, and alle, alla, allud, and they are used to point out which ones you're talking about. And so hic, haec, hoc in the singular means this, and in the plural means these. It's referring to the things closest to you, whereas alle, alla, allud in the singular means that, and in the plural means those, so they are the things that are farther away. And here is a fun fact for those of you who really like language like I do. I read a very cool article that says, and all the languages that these researchers studied, and there are a lot of languages on this planet, and some of them are very different. Every language they studied had a pair of demonstratives for referring to something close and something far away. And I thought that was pretty neat that every language had that. Okay, it is also interesting that these two words are declined similarly, that we will see in a minute. Okay, so hic, haec, hoc, and alle, alla, allud. There is also some other words that are declined similarly to these. There is iste, ista, istud. You might notice this ud ending. That is going to be something that you'll see on these particular words sometimes for the neuter. And iste, esta, istud, that one means that of yours. So you're referring particularly to, you're talking to someone and you're saying, that of yours, that book of yours, that dog of yours, that car of yours. I really like that car of yours. So that would be iste, esta, istud. Now, another word. Well, let's talk first about how these are declined. And so what makes them unique is that the genitive singular in all genders, the genitive singular ends in ius, and the dative singular ends in I. And then otherwise, mostly like first, second declension adjectives. So like bonus aum, or first declension nouns like puella. So you know puella is ceruleus, the second declension noun. So they have, for the most part, they have first and second declension endings. But they have those unusual genitive singular and dative singular. And then, as I already pointed out, you have the ud as that neuter ending, and that is unusual. And hic, haec, hoc also has some unusual endings as well. Now, let me show you how these are declined, and so that I'm not accused of like stealing someone else's stuff. I'll show you exactly. I I used to, when I taught Latin online many years ago when the internet was relatively young, I typed everything out myself, but why should I type it out myself when I'm sure I can find somebody else who has a very neat one? Look at everything that we can find here. You'll see that some people have the long I in the heek because theoretically sometimes heek is scanned long in poetry. I don't know that I see that often, but I don't know. I learned it as short, and I'm sticking with that. Oh, look at this. It's accusative. I wonder what language that is in. Let's see. Okay, so let me get a nice hick hike hoke. There, that's a good one. Oh wait, I better check, make sure it has, is it, nope, that's not the American order of things. We do nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. That's a Quizlet. Ah, that's a nice Quizlet. Okay, let's get that one. So, who did, oh, I have a 3-day study streak. And to give credit where credit is due, who made this lovely thing? This would be Saxophone, a top creator on Quizlet. I don't know who that is, but thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Hick, hike, hoke, huyus, 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 huik, 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 hunk, honk, hoke. So that's different. That accusative, that's not your normal first, second declension. Hoke, hock, hoke. Also, that's a little bit different too. So these are older forms, is my understanding as to why they're different. But if you look in the plural, those are just regular first and second declension endings. He, hi, hike, horum, harum, horum, hees, 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 hos, hos, hike, hees, hees, hees. If you were not taught to memorize declensions, I strongly recommend that you do. It just is so nice to have them at your fingertips. It's good to be able to recognize them, but it's just nice to be able to come up with the correct form when you need it. So that's hick, hike, hoke, and that's how you decline it. And notice that the genitive singular ends in ius, and the dative singular, oh, I said it ended in I. You'll see huik here ends in uic, and not in I. So hick, hike, hoke is a little bit different. The others are all going to have more similar endings. So let's get in a lud now. Oh no, I'm not purchasing that. I like that one. Okay, so they're not both the intensive pronoun. One of them is the intensive pronoun. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so okay, so here's Alea Lud. You might have noticed, and when I got here from the image page, you see how it's one of the ones I clicked on. Yeah, so you see this one right here, the one they wanted me to buy. Elea Lud, it also says the former. So Ele can be the former, and hick, hike, hoke can be the latter. And then I was noticing here, these are not going to be pronouns that I'm going to be looking at today, but there are these others as well. if you wanted to get some very interesting ones. So that's just our regular ones. And so you also have these, which I am not going to talk about, but they do show up from time to time if you want to get all fancy. So they're not that common. But so here's Alayla Alud. Here we see our paradigm that this IUS and I ending, that's going to repeat in the other words that I'm going to show you today. So this is Hikai Coke. This is this and these. And this is that and those. And it can also be the former and the latter. And just remember that the Hikai Coke is referring to something closer and the Alayla Alud is something farther away. And then Este Esta Stood is declined exactly the same way as Alayla Alud, and it means that of yours. So Este Esta Stood. And I will have a handout that will have all of these things declined on it. I don't know where I'm going to post that yet, but I will have it available. So Este Esta Stood, so that of yours. And then another word that has the same endings. Now it's not a demonstrative, it is an intensive pronoun, but we're going to talk about it. So that's why I call these Latin demonstrative pronouns and friends. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it here as well. And it is ipse, ipsa, ipsum. And it is an intensive pronoun. Let's get it. So you'll see, just like Alayla Alud and Este Esta Stood, it's got the IUS in the genitive and the singular and the I in the dative. So ipsius, 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 and ipsi, ipsi, ipsi. The neuter singular ends in and not ud. But this is an intensive pronoun. Oh, wait, it says demonstrative. I would not call it demonstrative. I would call it intensive. And here's what we mean by intensive. It intensifies another word. Now you want to be careful because in English we use self in multiple different ways. So we use self both as a reflexive and as an intensifier. And in Latin they are different words. You don't want to get these words confused because then when you do, your teacher or professor will fuss at you and say, where are you getting that from? So let me explain ipse. Ipse can be used to intensify anything else. It adds a something self to it. So I could have ego ipse. I can never come up with a good sentence when I need to. I myself love the dog. I'm just intensifying me, I myself. But I could use it, it doesn't have to be myself, it could be herself. I could have, well, that'd be ego ipsa, of course. And I could have puella ipsa, the girl herself loves the dog. I could have you yourself, so tu and tu ipse, so it'd be a male you yourself do something. You're going to give somebody something. I don't know, I think you're probably going to give money. Who are you going to give money to? You're going to give it to me, I think, yeah. Okay, so you yourself give money to me. This would not be the word order that would most commonly be used by a Roman, but I hope you will forgive me. So the ipse ipsa ipsum, it intensifies another word. Now you can use it by itself, but then the best way to translate it would still be with two words. Uh, uh, Ipse ambulat domum, he himself walks home. So I would just translate the ipse as he himself. Notice when I'm using it with another word, I can take it out of the sentence, and the sentence makes perfectly good sense by itself. Ego canum amo, I love the dog. Cruella canum amat, the girl loves the dog. 2. Pecuniam mihi das, you give me money. Ambulat domum, he walks home. Okay, all of those work fine. The intensifying pronoun just intensifies. So what is that different from? Well, this is not one of the words that is declined like these, but it's in English they are similar. In Latin they are not. And so you also have the reflexive pronoun. And because it refers back to the subject, it cannot be the subject. It does not have a nominative form. It's sui in the genitive, sui sibi, say. So this means himself, herself, itself, themselves. It's both singular and plural. It is third person, but it's reflexive. So that means it has a very different meaning. So puellam, say, and speculo vidit. The girl saw herself in the mirror. So we use the same word in English as in the girl herself loves the dog, as the girl saw herself in the mirror, but it plays a very different role in the sentence. Here it is the direct object, and if I take it out of the sentence means something entirely different. It doesn't even make sense. The girl saw in the mirror. Saw what? You have to have something in there. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew the difference between those. Now, the last thing I wanted to point out is, since we were doing these declensions anyway, there are some adjectives that have similar declensions, similar endings, and everybody who teaches this knows our special little saying for these adjectives. That's not in American order. Oh, the naughty nine. Unus nauta. There we go. Okay, unus nauta. So these 9 adjectives are declined with the IUS genitive ending and with the I dative ending. So, for example, let's see, do we have a declension of one? So unus, una, unum, unius, 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 uni, 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 unum, unam, unum, uno, una, uno. So you can see that IUS ending in the genitive singular and the I ending in the dative. And that makes it like ele, ela, lud, ste, sta, stood, ipse, ipsa, ipsum. And to be a completist, let me talk about something else that is a little strange here, and this is if you have alter, alter. The first one means the one, and the second one means the other. And the genitive of alter is alterius. Not surprising that you would have the ius ending. But alius uses alterius for its genitive. So if you look up the declension of alius, you'll see its genitive form is alterius. And so and it has the ud ending in it, like some of those others. Oh yeah, so now I'm gonna be trying to make more of these things, and so I'm gonna be like the big kids on the internet, and I'm gonna ask you to like and subscribe.